are very pleased to introduce our special guest, David Feinberg, President and CEO of Geisinger Health System.
Good morning, everybody. I was telling my seatmate next to me that I actually stole this tie from my dad. He doesn't know that I have it. But when I come to a place like this, and I'm surrounded by probably 14,000 people, and I'm a pitch hitter today, right? I'm speaking for somebody in our industry that's one of those handful of people we would list that's really changed the game for us. I kind of asked myself a question of, why the hell am I here? How did it happen? And I want to start with two patient stories. And I think these two patient stories are what I owe my being in such a really privileged and honored position right at this moment. So the first story, I know exactly when it happened because my daughter, who's now 24, was just about a year old. So do me a favor, raise your hand if you're a parent. Okay, and then raise your hands if you have a parent. So I think we got everybody. And so go back to that parenting time, either when you were a year old or when your kid was a year old, and you're sleep deprived. My wife's a doc too, so we would be call, post-call, then you were up, and there was breastfeeding, and there was a lot going on at our house. And I was in my second year of training in child psychiatry at UCLA. And the patient I'm caring for is a 12-year-old boy who's had his first psychotic break. And his dad is literally a used car salesman from Las Vegas. And the mom had left, so this used car salesman from Las Vegas sells Cadillacs. His kid gets brought to UCLA, and we're UCLA. We're really good. And I think we were ranked as the best psychiatric hospital in the West at that time. And I'm in this little office that's so small that when you open the door, you actually have to fold the folding chair, and then you put it back down when the door closes. And I'm telling the dad about his kid who has schizophrenia. And I'm talking about neurotransmitters, and I'm talking about dopamine and dopamine reuptake and the nucleus accumbens and different parts of the brain and anticholinergic medicines. And I'm really, really smart. I did really well in med school. I'm at the best place to get trained in child psychiatry. And the dad looks at me and he says, "Are you telling me I got to build a room out back?" And right when he said it, I just started crying. And what I realized was I wasn't smart at all. The trajectory of this kid's life and this family's life had changed dramatically. And when you think about it, when I thought about it, I had all these hopes and dreams for my daughter. And if I was in that folding chair and somebody was talking to me the way I was talking to that gentleman, he probably should have slapped me. Because what I think we've missed in healthcare is figuring out how to talk to people in a way they understand. And that, to me, I would say is half the reason, I want to give him half the credit, of why I'm here right now. And the second case is a few years later. I'm now a faculty member. My little Rachel has grown up, and so now we have Ryan. We got two kids. They go to this school very close to UCLA. And I get a call, I get a new case, and here's the story. A third grader, not in my kid's grade, writes in her haiku poem that she wants to tie yarn around her neck and kill herself. And for those of you that are in the millennial generation, this is before the cell phone. So what happens is the mom gets notified the next day because the teacher takes the haiku poems home, reads them at night, tells the principal the next morning. They call mom, and dad tells me he had never, ever been called at work and interrupted by his wife, where they said, "You must come to the phone." This was the first time. And they came to the phone, and they told her, she said, "Our daughter wrote this in her haiku poem, you got to come home." And this young lady third grader came to see me, and we treated her for depression, and she did really well. Here's the problem, and here's what she taught me. She was about 4/10 of a mile away from UCLA, her school. It took her 3.5 weeks to get an appointment, and the reason she got an appointment in 3.5 weeks was because she knew somebody, or the family did. So when your kid says that they're suicidal, when your wife comes home and says the mammography came back and it's not good, or when your elderly parent falls in the middle of the night and is lying in the bathroom floor in blood but doesn't want to call you until the morning because they don't want to wake you at night, when those things happen, people want to be seen today. People really want to be seen yesterday. When bad stuff happens, you stop checking your email. And that's when us, providers, and those that make the system work, it's really showtime for us. So that patient, that family, I didn't know what the word was back then, but they taught me about access. They taught me about if I could eliminate one thing today in healthcare that I would like to eliminate, it's our waiting rooms. I think they add no value. I've never seen anybody get better in a waiting room. And I think it really is talking about changing our system from one that's provider-centered to one that's patient-centered. If it's provider-centered, waiting rooms make a lot of sense because the provider is so important. You want to build up inventory so there's never a time that that provider doesn't have their time occupied. If it's patient-centered, it's a complete different system. First, they'd come to the doctor, we'd say, hey, we're sorry you had to come in. It means our home monitoring didn't work, but we've been expecting you. You room yourself. The doctor's waiting for you. They've looked at the record. The primary care doctor thinks you need to see a cardiologist. The cardiologist is in the room, and you haven't had a skin exam, and we're going to do that via telemedicine. We're really sorry we brought you in, but in 45 minutes, we're going to take care of everything. So how do we get there? As Don was so nice to say in my introduction, I spent 25 years at UCLA, and just about 10 years ago, I was a half-time child psychiatrist and half-time running our psychiatric hospital. I was really good at Ritalin, and the dean said to me when the guy that was the chief executive of the hospitals left unexpectedly, he literally said to me, I'd like you to take over as the interim chief executive officer, because if we did a search right now, no one would come to UCLA. You see, we had just borrowed $75 million to make payroll. We were moving into a new hospital and had been delayed 6 years, and it was over budget, just $500 million. So we won't get a real CEO, so would you do the job? And I said, with that vote of confidence, I would be thrilled. That's when I called my dad and said, I need ties. I have no idea what I'm doing. And the first few days on the job, people would come up to me and ask me questions. I thought they were talking a foreign language. How many bunkers should be in the MOB? I didn't know what a bunker was or an MOB. It's a very, very hard question to answer. So what I did, and I think this was out of anxiety, but it was probably pretty lucky, is I did what I knew best, and that was to sit on patient beds and say, how's the care? Here's my card. Here's my cell phone. Call me 24 hours a day if there's anything I can do to make you or your family feel any better. I helped patients to the commode. I ran down to the pharmacy. I transported patients. I called relatives. I called docs. I even went to the nursing station where we had trained every unit secretary perfectly to have no eye contact. You'd walk up to the nursing station, and they were perfect at that. And the short story is that we went from 38th percentile in patient satisfaction on would you refer us to a friend or rate us on a scale of 1 to 10. We went to 99th percentile. 6,000 hospitals in the United States, teaching, public, private, urban, rural, big, small, religious, and we were rated as the #1 hospital on those two questions. We went from what I said was our mission statement at the beginning when I had this opportunity at UCLA. I don't know if this was officially the mission statement, but it was something like, we're UCLA, you are very lucky you get to see us. We switched it to healing humankind one patient at a time by alleviating suffering delivering acts of kindness and promoting health. And, you know, a lot of people started to pay attention to what we were doing. And I kept saying, you know, to get 99th percentile patient satisfaction, you have to get it right out of 86 patients out of 100. That gets you to the 99th percentile. That means 14 of the patients that we saw at the best hospital in the United States on patient satisfaction, 14 out of 100. And these are regular people. They're just like you. They're moms, they're dads, they're teachers, they're aunts and uncles. 14 out of 100 would not refer us to a friend. If we were in any other business, if we were in manufacturing, 14 defects out of 100? Terrible, terrible. I knew we could do better. And then I got a call about this place here. I had never been to central Pennsylvania, and I had sent a team to Geisinger before to kind of learn what was going at Geisinger. There was a lot of buzz about Geisinger. And people told me it's a great place, early bet on electronic health records, a lot of employed docs, a lot of innovation, stable population. Now, I'm a guy from Beverly Hills. So when they said stable population, I honestly thought they meant emotionally stable. What I found out was the people that live here, they never move. They never move. I'm in the emergency room at Geisinger doing my same thing. How's the care? Here's my card. I learned a few new things. There's 10-year-olds who go hunting. I hadn't experienced that before. But I say, so are you from around here? Are you from Danville? And they look at me and they're mad when I ask that question. And they say, no, I'm from Berwick. Like Berwick is 4 miles away. So the stability of the population became something that I didn't appreciate, and now I think puts us in a unique place that I'm going to get to in just a second. So when I get to Geisinger, about a year and a half ago, so I take no credit for this, we had a founder 100 years ago, Abigail Geisinger, a woman, 85 years old, founds a hospital the same year Congress votes that women don't have the right to vote. So that's an old 85, 100 years ago. And she hires the first doc from the Mayo Clinic. So it's a physician-led organization, early on bet on electronic health records in this stable population. But when I get there a year and a half ago, she had said, make the hospital the best. I said, so are we the best? You know, we got 30,000 employees. We sell insurance in 5 states. We provide care in 2 states. We got everything, post-acute, everything. Are we the best? Well, I wanted to see all our clinics. I go to this one clinic in a town called Benton. It's a double-wide trailer, and it doesn't even match at the top. There's an Amish guy outside, and he's tying his horse up to the front of to a hitch rack. I thought a hitch rack was like a medical device. He's tying his horse up. He's got his arm in a bucket of kerosene. He's walking to see the doc. There's some young people in the office. They look like they're tweaking on methamphetamine. There's some farmers. And I'm like, whoa, I'm not in Bel Air. This is really different. In that clinic, and the other 215 clinics that Geisinger runs, our anticoagulation, our ability to thin your blood, not too much so you bleed, and enough so that it's therapeutic, went from best in the United States to best in the world in May when I got there last year. We had bought a lot of hospitals, and their door-to-balloon time, how fast they get the patient from the emergency room up into the cath lab, is supposed to be under 90 minutes. When we buy the hospital, it's at 120 minutes. Within 6 months to a year, the entire Geisinger system is at 42 minutes, where 49 minutes is the 95th percentile. Our death rate, what we call observed to expected mortality, how many patients die out of how many patients are supposed to die. You know, if we get 1,000 admissions and based on their criteria, 100 should die. If 120 die, you're not doing your job. If 80 die, you're doing a really good job. And if 100 die, that's what it's expected. Our ratio was 0.5, and in one of our hospitals in Wilkes-Barre when I got there, it was 0.2. So you could say we were saving 5 times as many lives or 2 times as many lives as everybody else. And what I realized was I had gone from a place where the doctor is the star to a place where the system is the star, where Coal miners are getting concierge care, or actually coal miners out of work are getting concierge care. And it was really about team-based medicine. The reason the anticoagulation is so good, and please, I apologize to my physician colleagues in the audience, is we took it away from the docs. We got pharmacists do it. In that clinic in Benton, there's a pharmacist doing anticoagulation. There's embedded behavioral health people doing treatment for depression, anxiety. There's embedded pharmacists now doing opiates. Case managers from our insurance company, this is a little weird when I say this, they keep track, these are insurance company case managers, they keep track how many times they're mentioned in obituaries when one of their patients dies. So the obituary says, leaving a husband, wife, mother, brother, and we want to thank Mary, the case manager from Geisinger. So a real focus on team-based care. So how did it get like that? About 10 years ago, the Wall Street Journal said Geisinger offers the first warranty in healthcare. And the warranty was, if you have heart surgery and you have an infection or a readmission, we won't charge you, right? We all would talk about that now as a bundle, but that was really pretty unique. So was it the best heart surgery? So our chief of cardiovascular surgery, who's still there, tells the story and he goes like this. So he gets all the heart surgeons in the room and he says, let's agree on what's the best way to do surgery. And that meeting goes on and no one ever agrees. And then they change the discussion. Okay, let's agree on what we would flunk somebody on their oral boards on for cardiovascular surgery if they said it. Oh, well, if they didn't clean properly, if they didn't do this, if they didn't do this. Yes, we all agree. If I was a board examiner and somebody presented a case to me and they said this, I'm not talking it's about good surgery, I'm talking about they would flunk. Those are just totally unacceptable things to do. And then we looked at our patients. Guess what? On that first thing, about 10% of our patients would have flunked the boards had it been a board case. And the same with each one of the items we came up with. And if you took it across the board, 50% of the patients at Geisinger, and I would venture to say at other places, would have flunked their boards. So instead of saying, let's do the best surgery, what Geisinger did 10 years ago with proven care that started with acute care around heart surgery was to make sure no one flunked their boards if they were a board patient. They happened to be real patients. That led to a process of improving care where now Walmart has said, for spine surgery, they announced this a couple weeks ago, if you're a Walmart employee in 22 states, including Arkansas, and you need spine surgery, you can go to Geisinger and there'll be no charge. We'll pay for you to fly up there and you can bring a spouse and we'll give you money for food during the day. Or you can have it locally and you'll pay 50% of the cost at your local hospital. So talk about a narrow network. And what happens when these Walmart patients come to us for spine surgery? These are patients scheduled for spine surgery in their hometown. 40% of the time we're not operating. So really putting team-based people together and working at, I don't know ever how to say this one the right way, to make sure none of the bad stuff happens makes us the best. So that proven acute around hearts and hips and spines and AVMs went into proven chronic. And proven chronic was that let's make sure the anticoagulation works. Let's make sure we have team-based care. So that was a year and a half ago, and I get there. And I mean, I think my wife Andrea we're the only two people potentially in the entire United States that have moved from Beverly Hills to Danville. And in Danville, on Yelp, the 6th best restaurant is Wendy's. So here we are looking for somewhere to eat, and but I noticed something. I noticed that despite our incredible outcomes, incredible high quality, known for low cost, we didn't always answer the phone the right way. And some patients, if they had a stroke and needed to see a neurologist, and we didn't have availability, they just waited. These nice people in central Pennsylvania don't drive to Philadelphia or Pittsburgh to get care. They get care at Geisinger. And if we don't care for them, they just wait. And that really, really started to bother me. If we go back to the little girl in her haiku poem, that she waited 3.5 weeks and they knew somebody so they could get in. So we came up with the next iteration of our proven portfolio. So if that proven portfolio started first with acute care heart and then chronic care, we said, well, what if we do proven experience? And proven experience is this. You call and we'll answer on the first ring and it will be a live person. It's pretty amazing when you answer the phone on the first ring and it's a live person. Do you know what people on the other end say? They say, is this a recording? So they're pretty much wowed. Well, for same-day appointments in every specialty, every day of the year, regardless of acuity. So when you talk to providers and you say, do you do same-day special? Of course, if a woman has abnormal vaginal bleeding, we get her in right away. What if she's just a single mom and wants her well woman checkup and she happened to get the day off work? Oh, well, then we have an appointment available in October, right? So same-day appointments, we're going to treat you with incredible kindness, compassion, dignity, respect. We're going to be expecting you. It's a privilege to care for you. We're going to make your transitions in care really, really smooth. We know everybody who has a hip replacement needs to go home and they need a stool for their shower. When you go home, there's a box with the stool already built at your front door. So we anticipate any transition in care, inpatient, outpatient. We even send you a bill that you understand, which is pretty amazing. And at the end, our warranty or our guarantee is you'd refer us to a friend, right? It's the family rule. You get care as if it was my mom, my kid, my wife, my brother, my friend. That's the standard. But we had to do more. We had to give that kind of warranty piece to it. So we said, if we don't do what we said, and you decide, we'll give you all your money back. So we're the first healthcare system in the United States to literally offer a money-back guarantee on compassion, on kindness, on making it easy to be a patient. Because when you're a patient, it sucks. And then when you interact with our system, it's a double whammy. So we're doing our best to try to take that away. Now people ask, well, do you ask any questions? And I was saying in the beginning, we ask no questions about the money-back guarantee. We do ask 2 questions. We ask your name and your address so we can send you the money. We've returned, after we started the pilot, we've returned over $400,000 to our patients. It's been unbelievably valuable. We have the best secret shopper program in the world. They tell you where people are doing things right. They tell you where people are not doing things right. And it has allowed us to, guess what? Improve patient satisfaction in primary care, specialty care, inpatient care, I'm leaving one out. Oh, emergency room care. So in every setting that we've measured, we've seen improvement in our patient satisfaction by really saying to our patients, hey, tell us where we're doing well, tell us we're not doing well, and as a small token of you letting us know, we're happy to refund all or some of your money, you decide. You know, when you go to Starbucks, you order a double latte with soy milk and sugar in the raw, and you sip it, and it's not right. And you say to the barista, this is not right. Have you ever seen the barista sip it and say, no, I made it right, you have to drink it? Guys, that's what we do in healthcare. That is our model in healthcare. I'm really sorry we don't have a bed for you. Please enjoy the hallway. I mean, we don't do it right for our patients. So it's been, to me, a real privilege to be part of an organization that's so system-focused, that cares for some great people. And as I say to my team, you know, we got to get it right by the patient because it's the right thing to do. We got to get it right by the patient because they're our friends or neighbors, like it's a very small town. And we got to get it right for the patients because we're one of those few places, and I say this with all humility, that America's watches. You know, if we get it right, we do new models, it translates into better care elsewhere. And there's another reason that I think it's really, really important for us to get it right. And it's about, I don't want to sound too, sometimes I say the word trust, and sometimes I say the word love. I think we need to love our patients, and I think we'll get love back from that. So we got to get those same-day appointments so that they want to help us in what we're trying to accomplish. We got to treat them with compassion so that they will continue to love us in what we're trying to do. So Geisinger decided to take an approach to genomics that no one else has taken. So you can do genomics and take a look at what's the right treatment for your cancer. You can do genomics and say you should be on this medicine, you shouldn't be on this medicine. We tried a different approach. We tried an approach of saying, well, what if we did everybody's whole exome sequencing? Not 23andMe where you get a snippet and it says you like chocolate and you're a Neanderthal and you shouldn't eat blueberries. We're talking about medically actionable conditions. Whole exome sequencing on an entire population. We've consented 140,000 patients so far, done 60,000 genomes. Because no one moves, we got everyone in the community. Because we've had this good relationship with them. Normally when you do a genome study, you get about 15% of people say, yeah, you can look at my blood for research. If you get 50%, you're doing really well. We have a 90% consent rate. And now we found some interesting things. We found that some people are brother and sister and they didn't know it. Hey, that's not medically actionable. So what we've done is when a 16-year-old came in to see us and she was dehydrated from soccer and we gave her some fluids in the ER and she agreed to be in our MyCode study. 90% of the people we asked say yes. We ran her genome and she came back with 2 genes associated with fatal cardiac arrhythmias in young people. We looked at her family history and her uncle, let's call him Bill, choked in a restaurant and died at age 22. We run the genome and it's pretty clear this is a family that has this potentially fatal cardiac problem. He didn't choke, he had a heart attack. We bring 30 family members in. And through genetic counseling, we got about 15 of them appropriately now on pacemakers. So you could call that precision medicine. I call it anticipatory medicine. We saw a 55-year-old just the other day. She's a grandma, but she's the primary caregiver of her grandchildren. Part of our MyCode study. She comes back positive with the BRCA gene. She's been behind on her mammographies, but we do it and everything's fine. We do an ultrasound of her ovaries and her fallopian tubes, and everything's fine. She meets with her genetic counselors and she literally says, I need to live 10 more years because I'm taking care of my grandkids and I can't die. So she elects to have a prophylactic removal of her ovaries and fallopian tubes, and it comes back with a grade 4 carcinoma in her fallopian tube. She's now on chemotherapy, and we've said the odds are you're going to live 10 more years. That doesn't happen if you don't do this stuff in advance. And when you get yourself in the mind of these folks, I think we are right now, really because of information, digitalizing the medical record, bringing the medical record up into a way that we can start to analyze it, combining it with genomic information, really at a titanic shift in how we can start to care for our patients. But while we do that, we can't forget to care. Everything we do, actually this is our purpose at Geisinger, everything we do is about caring.